PR01680F. Okay. So, Mr. Tucson, any prior DUI convictions?
2019 DUI. It was amended to reckless driving.
So it's a DUI arrest reduced to reckless driving.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Ms. Webb?
Yes, Your Honor, the state is recommending a $5,000 surety for the DUI and a $500 surety for the lane driving in the center lane. Your Honor, this incident took place on yesterday. Well, actually, excuse me, the early hours of today around 1:30 a.m. in the area of Holcomb Bridge Road in Calabre Creek Parkway in Roswell, Georgia. As Your Honor knows, Officer Serbisky with the Roswell Police Department was driving on Holcomb Bridge Road when he observed a white Toyota driving in the center lane trying to catch up to a passing vehicle. The officer observed the vehicle sway to the left towards oncoming traffic and travel over 300 feet in the center lane. The officer initiated the traffic stop, and after introducing himself and telling the defendant the reason for the stop, the officer could smell a strong odor of alcohol coming from the defendant's car. The defendant told the officer that he was headed home from his ex-wife's house and going to his apartment in Park 83, which runs parallel to this area on Holcomb Bridge Road in Calabre Creek. The officer began to notice the defendant had slurred speech and bloodshot red eyes and asked the defendant why he was driving in the center lane and explained to him the actions he observed that could have caused an accident with swerving into the lane where oncoming traffic was coming. The defendant said he was trying to turn into his apartment complex. And the officer then asked how many drinks he had during the evening, and he initially responded none. And when the officer asked about the smell of alcohol and in the poignance of that smell, he responded that a friend did give him one beer. The defendant was asked about why the odor was so strong, despite it just having one beer in the evening. But the defendant, again, just stuck to his story that he only had one beer. The officer, of course, asked the defendant to come out of the vehicle and asked if he would he like to voluntarily take a field sobriety test, in which the defendant declined. However, the officer was able to reasonably conclude that the defendant was driving under the influence of alcohol due to the defendant's slurred speech, red eyes, and the driving conduct, as well as that strong alcohol odor. Your Honor, as you've heard from pretrial, we do believe that this is a case of risk of reoffending. The defendant was originally charged with a DUI out of Roswell, which is the same area, and he pled NOLO to reckless driving in 2019. And merely 2.5 years later, we're right back here with another DUI offense. And for those reasons, the state is asking for that total $5,500 surety bond with the conditions of no driving and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. Nothing further.
Thank you. Mr. Murphy, is that your client? No, Ms. Gant.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Michael Dunn is 44 years old. He has been in the Atlanta area for 10 years. He has 2 children here. He has joint custody of the children. He pays child support. The children are aged 10 and 5. Your Honor, Mr. Dunn has a master's in computer animation. He also has dual bachelor's degrees in biology and English. He is currently employed at the Carter Multi-State Real Estate Agency. He is due there at 8 a.m. in the morning. He has been in that position for the past 3 years. Your Honor, he disputes the allegations. He states that he was, in fact, at his residence at 1608 Calabre Creek Parkway, and that he was attempting to turn into his apartment complex. He states that that is the same location of this offense on May 12, 2019. He does not have any convictions for DUI. Your Honor, I am requesting a signature bond on Mr. Dunn's behalf. And if Your Honor determines that he is ineligible, then a split bond, $1,000 for the DUI and a signature bond for the center lane violation. Thank you.
All right, thank you. The DUI is $2,500. The center lane violation is $500. Total bond is set at $3,000, which is a surety bond. No driving unless he has driving privileges issued by DDS through an administrative license suspension hearing, and no consumption of alcohol until this case is resolved. His next court date is April 7th. Thank you.
Next, we have position 12, Lovelace. Lovelace.
Mr. Lava Rianta Lovelace is case 22 CR 0016911Y. He's been accused of battery, domestic violence from a March 23rd, 2022 incident. Mr. Lovelace, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. J. Kim. Okay. All right. And Mr. Tucson, any priors?
This is fourth adult arrest.
Fourth adult arrest. He
Last
is-
arrest was 2019 trespass. He got first offender in 2017, 2 counts of battery, terrorist threat, 3 counts of battery, actually. 2017, first offender, ag assault. His first cycle was a QD arrest.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Duncan?
Yes, Your Honor. In addition, I would just like to know for the record that in this case, just a little under 2 years ago, on March 27, 2020, the victim in this case filed a protective order against this same defendant. In this case, on March 23rd, 2022, officers were dispatched to the incident location, which is 880 Rock Street Northwest, by Miss Alice Armstead, who is the grandmother of the defendant in this case. She stated to police that the defendant had physically assaulted her. She is 66 years old and he punched her in her left eye. She had visible cuts and swelling from her left eye, and officers did note that she was currently bleeding when they were taking the report. The defendant in this case fled the scene on foot and later returned to the location. And Ms. Armstead stated that the altercation started over her refusal to give the defendant 50 cents, Your Honor. He became quite upset and, as I stated, began to assault his 66-year-old grandmother by striking her with closed fist. As pretrial stated, this defendant does have prior violent convictions from 2017 in case 17 SC 151199. And this, given the fact that there was a protection order initiated against this same defendant by this same victim, we're concerned about the risk of reoffense. We're concerned about the intimidation of the witness and concerned about the health and safety.
Stop. All right, Francois, remove him from the courtroom, please. All right, we'll pause until the courtroom situation is stable. Ms. Kim, I haven't seen Sergeant. Okay, Francois, you can remove him from the courtroom at the first available opportunity. Ms. Kim, what would you like to say?
Actually,
Your Honor, if I may, my apologies.
Hold on,
may I please ask for a breakout?
The host can mute courtroom too. Thank you.
I was going to actually ask for a behavioral health evaluation test for him. But
Okay, I'm sorry. Let Ms. Duncan finish. Ms.
Sure.
Duncan, anything else to add?
Yes, I was just gonna say that this defendant does have, just to clarify, 2 cases of ag assault and a battery case, but I wanted to state our bond recommendation, given the facts and circumstances surrounding this defendant's extensive violent history and the continued cycle of abuse against this particular victim, who is 66 years old. and
Are
his
we
grandmother.
still, I'm sorry, are we still on the same case or are we moving on to the next
Yes.
case?
No, we're still on this one without his presence. But Ms. Duncan, I've noted his history and his and your request.
You can take them.
So we're requesting 6,000 surety,
Here we go, sir. Come on, let's go, Mr. Lola.
no further contact with the victim in this case, Miss Alice Armstead. That's ALLIS Armstead, ARMSTEAD. Stay away from the incident location, which is 880 Rock Street Northwest. no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, and a 6-week family violence class.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor, we have no objection, except that we would like to add social worker services to have a behavioral health evaluation test for him. That's
Okay.
all, Your Honor.
His bond is going to be set at 5,000. It's the cash bond only. No contact with Alice Armstead. Stay away from 880 Rock Street, Northwest Atlanta. And no drugs, no alcohols, no weapons. And we will see him on April 7th. All right.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And with regards to the social worker evaluation, Ms. Kim, your office was going to have to request the evaluation.
Yes, Your
I'll
Honor.
sign up on it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we have courtroom 3 with the 2 individuals with whom Ms. Kim needs to speak to. Will the host please place Ms. J. Kim, interpreter Mrs. Hanson, and courtroom 3 in a breakout room, please?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, who do we have at courtroom 2, please?
This is going to be position, he's actually an add-on, Mr. Dennis, position 1 add-on.
All right, thank you. Mr. Solomon Dennis is case number 22 CR 001-6998, accused of loitering and prowling and misdemeanor obstruction of an officer from March 23rd, 2022. Mr. Dennis, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and representing you is Ms. Wanda Gant. Mr. Tucson, do you have any priors on Mr. Dennis?
I'm gonna defer to the state. I don't know
All right.
what it is.
Ms. Falk, if you'd like to enlighten us.
Yes, Your Honor. The defendant was convicted of burglary on November 30th of 2014 in Fulton County, burglary in the first degree, and theft by taking on February 2nd, 2015 in Fulton County. The defendant is currently on probation for robbery under 19 SC 167067 on December 19th, 2019 in Fulton County, where he was sentenced under 10 years with 3 years to serve, and felony obstruction and simple battery, for which he is currently on probation, serving a 5-year serve 1-year sentence in Fulton County under 19 SC 171294. The defendant additionally has a 2018 probation violation and a 2019 arrest for probation violation. The incident occurred with the defendant loitering outside of 1985 Cannon Court in College Park. It's a series of abandoned apartments. When the defendant observed officers, he took off running, and when they did make contact with him, he admitted he was there to purchase marijuana, which is strange because they are abandoned apartments. I will say that the defendant's entire history is burglary and theft offenses. So all of them are property crimes involving theft. And so for those reasons, because of his 2 prior burglaries, as well as his robbery charge, we are requesting a $2,000 surety bond on this case. That is $1,500 on the loitering and prowling and $500 on the obstruction. We are also requesting a stay away order from the entire area of Cannon Court in College Park. The exact address is 1985. So what we would request is that he stay outside, come no closer than 200 yards of that address. We are also requesting no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Gant?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Dennis Solomon is 25 years old. He has been in the Atlanta area his entire life. He has family here, including his parents. And in fact, he advised me that his aunt passed away and that her funeral was scheduled for Saturday, and he's desperately wanting to be released to attend that service. We are unopposed to the stay away. Mr. Solomon is working on his GED online. He has 2 classes remaining. Mr. Solomon does not have anything to pay toward bond, Your Honor. He has been unemployed since February of 2021. He just started 2 jobs last week, one at Fresh Express and the other at State Farm Arena. He denies the allegations. He states that he was merely walking through the neighborhood. He said that the police approached and tased the man that he was with. He became afraid and started running because he was afraid that he would be tased next. Your Honor, I acknowledge my client's history. However, there are no allegations of theft or robbery. I am again requesting that signature bond, and again, we're unopposed to the stay away. Thank you.
Thank you. On the loitering and prowling, that's going to be $1,000. On the willful obstruction, that's going to be $250. Total bond is $1,250. That's a surety bond to stay 200 yards away from the location identified as 1985 Cannon Court in College Park. Thank you. Next court date is April 2nd.
Next is position 17, Mr. Trappenburg. Have a seat over there. Have a seat over there.
Daniel Trappenburg is accused of theft by shoplifting and simple battery in case number 22 CR 0016891. Mr. Trappenburg, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Mr. Dennis Murphy. Is it you, Mr. Murphy?
No, Judge, I still have Johnson and Dewberry.
Dewberry.
I believe it was Miss Kim.
Francois, his attorney is Miss Kim, so we're gonna have to wait until she returns from the breakout.
Sorry.
Kim was my attorney and she's on a break.
Okay, we can go on to the next case.
Okay.
Next is position, let me see who, Kim is on a breakout. I'll try to do Ms. Gant's cases.
So what's going on with you?
We have Dewberry or Johnson.
Come on, Mr.
Kim's
Johnson.
my attorney and she's on a break.
This is Mr. Johnson, position 9.
Rodney Leroyal Johnson Jr. is case 22 CR 001681G, accused of simple battery domestic violence. With regards to an incident that occurred on March 22nd, 2022. Mr. Johnson's been advised of his right to remain silent. His attorney is Mr. Dennis Murphy. And 14 cycles, you say, Mr. Tusa?
Correct.
Any prior convictions for DV matters?
Yeah, probation violation for battery DV. Case number 11 CR 371790. Probation violation. Yeah, the 02 simple battery conviction.
Oh, it's an 02. Okay, thank you. Mr. Webb?
Yes, Your Honor. In this case, the state is recommending a $2,500 surety bond. No further contact with Miss Latricia Johnson. That's Latricia, LATRICIA Johnson. A stay away from the incident location at 2821 Waters Road. No alcohol, drugs, or weapons, and 1-day anger awareness. Your Honor, this incident took place on March the 22nd, where Atlanta police did respond to a domestic dispute call, and they were met with Miss Latricia Hudson Johnson, who stated that she called the police on her husband after they were involved in a physical altercation. She explained to the officers that she returned home from work later than expected, and the defendant accused her of having an affair with one of his friends. The two became physical, and she alleges that D struck her in the head several times, and that in retaliation and self-protection, she took a knife and stabbed him with it in self-defense, which she showed the officer who responded to the scene the knife that she used. In addition to, Your Honor, she alleges that the defendant took her phone and went through it, and at some point he became hostile towards her, and that is why she stabbed him. When she stabbed him, the defendant told the officer that he fell to the ground. The officer noted that inside of the home there was a considerable amount of blood on the kitchen floor, and that the defendant was transported to the hospital to be treated for his injuries. Your Honor, this is a cross-defendant case, and Ms. Johnson is being prosecuted on felony charges. However, we are concerned that there is a risk of reoffending and with witness intimidation, considering that both parties probably do, or at some point will realize just the severity of this matter, Your Honor. It might try to sway from prosecution. In addition to, we are concerned with the underlying marital issues concerning infidelity that clearly incites violence, Your Honor. And the state is concerned that there's a risk of reoffending. In addition to those charges you've heard from pretrial, he also has a battery from 2011 out of Fulton County and a simple battery and obstruction from Fulton County from 2004. Nothing further.
Bond's going to be set at $5,000. It's a signature bond through pretrial services. He's to have no further contact with Latricia Johnson, no illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons and no firearms. He may return to the 2121 Waters Road location, but I'm hoping that whoever handles the case in felony court, that she's not allowed to return to the location. Okay. Anything else, Mr. Murphy? I'm sorry, you're on mute, sir. Mr. Murphy, we good?
I'm there now, Judge. No objection to the $5,000 signature bond. I want to advise the court that my client works for Northside Hospital. He's been there 5 years, and he will stay with a family friend at 107 Green Branch Drive in Tyrone, Georgia, 30290, and he'll stay there until this case gets adjudicated, Your Honor.
Oh, so he doesn't want to go back to Waters Road, so she can go back there?
Yes, Judge.
Okay, so then just please be sure that he updates us with his new address within 14 days of being released.
Thank you, Judge. And
And Your Honor,
I'll
did you
notify
say,
his family.
Yeah,
did you say that's a signature bond through the jail?
through pretrial.
Pretrial. Thank you.
If he gets arrested again for anything else, he can kiss the signature bond goodbye.
I've advised him as such, Judge, if
All right.
given the court gave him grace. Thank you,
so
Judge.
much. Just haven't had time to get to you.
Mr. Johnson, I'll be in touch with the family shortly.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dennis.
All right, is that Mr. Dewberry?
No, this is position 6, Mr. Gomez. Did you want to do Mr. Dewberry now? That's fine.
If Mr. Dewberry is available, that would be better. Then I can have our interpreter available.
No. Position.
Marcus Dewberry. Okay. All right, DeMarcus Dewberry is 22 CR 001683J, accused of simple battery from March 17, 2022. Mr. Dewberry, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Mr. Dennis Murphy. Ms. Webb, I've already read the warrants. This is a jail incident, correct?
Yes, Your Honor, this is
All
a
right.
jail incident.
All right, and I'm familiar with this GCIC. Mr. Murphy, the bond's going to be set at 2,500 to stay, going to instruct the sheriff to have him stay away from Javon Spencer and to make sure that he doesn't have any further violent contact with the staff and the rest of the inmates at Fulton County Jail.
Judge, I know really nothing of the case. Would the court consider a signature bond? Mr. Dewberry's already there on felony charges.
Understood. That's why that's the lowest I can go.
Okay, I respect the decision of the court. Thank you, Your Honor. And that's
All right.
all I have.
Thank you. 2,500, stay away from inmate Javon Spencer, no violent contact with the staff and the employees at the Fulton County Jail. Thank you, Mr. Dewberry. Your next court date is going to be April 7.
April 7.
That's all I have, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Murphy, thank you very much. You be safe.
Thank you.
Who represents Mr. Gomez?
Ms. Gatz.
Okay. This is Miguel Gomez, case number 22 CR 001685A, accused of simple battery domestic violence from a March 23rd, 2022 incident. Mr. Miguel Gomez, I don't mean to be rude, but you do understand English, yes?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, so Mr. Gomez, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Wanda Gant. Any priors, Mr. Toussaint?
The rest. Last was 2019 criminal trespass that was dismissed. DUI conviction, 2013. 2016 arrest by ICE for alien present without admission. 2013 arrest by ICE for deportable alien.
All right, thank you. Ms. Webb?
Yes, Your Honor. In this case, the state is recommending a $2,000 surety with no further contact with Miss Veronica Cooper. That's Veronica, common spelling, and Cooper, common spelling. A stay away from the incident location at 135 Sterling Court, Alpharetta, Georgia. No alcohol, drugs, or weapons, and 1-day anger awareness. Your Honor, this incident took place on yesterday around 12:30 a.m. where the Alpharetta Police Department responded to a domestic dispute call, and Ms. Cooper explained to the responding officer that they were in the bedroom, and she got up to turn on a fan, and the defendant became upset because he was cold. When she turned the fan on, the defendant got up from the bed and walked to Ms. Cooper, who was standing in the bedroom's doorway, and began shoving her while she was standing in that doorway of the bedroom, and ultimately shoved her out of the way and slammed the door behind her. Your Honor, the state is concerned with the risk of reoffending. Our office did make contact with Ms. Cooper, and she advised that the two are actually married and have been married for the past 5 years, and that there is a history of abuse throughout the relationship, but this is the first time that she called the police. As the narrative stated in the warrant, Your Honor, it may seem and appear that a mere shoving incident is somewhat of non-violence, or Your Honor, but the state will have to disagree. The officer noted that the defendant did consume 6 beers during this evening, Your Honor, and because the state is also concerned with witness intimidation, and albeit, again, this was just a mere shoving match, clearly it incited enough fear in Ms. Cooper that she felt and needed to call for police intervention. In addition to, Your Honor, she did advise that the two do not share any children, but that the defendant is struggling with some alcohol problems in which she would like for him to get some help, because the alcohol does have a tendency to cause him to act violent and abusive towards her. She says they do reside at that incident location together, but she is afraid of her life from the defendant, and does not want him to come near her when he is released from jail. She does say that she isn't opposed to any one-time law enforcement escort to retrieve his belongings. Nothing further, Your Honor.
I do notice that we have a Veronica on the Zoom, but if she doesn't want to testify, she absolutely has that right. Ms. Gant?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Miguel Gomez is 35 years old. He has been in the Atlanta area for 10 years. We heard from the state that, of course, he is married. He does not have any children. Your Honor, we are opposed to the stay away at 135 Sterling Court. That is the marital home. Mr. Gomez completed high school, and he is currently employed at the Connie House at restaurant. He has been in that position for the past 6 years. He denies the allegations. And regarding the state's arguments, Your Honor, my client has not been convicted of any violent offenses, and I would ask that Your Honor just consider the simple battery family violence allegation before you, which he denies. He denies vehemently that he shoved her, Your Honor. I am requesting a signature bond as he has recommended. If Your Honor determines that he is ineligible, then a bond of no more than $1,000. I would defer to the court's ruling regarding the stay away and the no contact orders, as I did reach out to Ms. Cooper, but was unable to touch base with her. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. I have a Veronica Cooper Veronica, not a Veronica Cooper. Are you Veronica Cooper?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. If you want to address the court, you have to start your video.
Does that say?
Yes, it is.
I don't know how to do it.
That's okay. Listen, Ms. Cooper, you don't have to say anything at the present time. If you need, you can reach out to the victim advocate's office.
Let's see.
All right. If you, will the host please mute that panel? Thank you.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Miguel Gomez, your bond is going to require you to have no contact with Veronica Cooper. You have to stay 200 yards away from her. You're not to communicate with her in any way, form, or manner. You cannot return to the marital home. So what was that address, Ms. Webb?
Yes, Your Honor. One moment. That address is
Have 135 Sterling Court.
Yes, 135 Sterling Court, Alpharetta, Georgia.
You're not to return to that location in Alpharetta, Georgia. You can return one time only with a police officer. You must have a police officer with you to retrieve your personal belongings, and that visit cannot exceed 2 hours. you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
But otherwise, you're not to return to that location. While you are out on your bond, you're going to complete a 4-week anger management program at your expense. And you're going to complete an alcohol and drug evaluation at your expense. And if the evaluator says you need to attend any kind of counseling or treatment, you must submit yourself to such treatment and counseling. You are, your bond is going to be set at $5,000. It's a signature bond through pretrial services. You will report to pretrial once a month.
I'm sorry,
And
the computer froze again, so.
oh, sorry. Oh, my goodness. Okay, it's $5,000 signature bond through pretrial services. He will report to pretrial once a month. If he violates the conditions of his bond, if he doesn't do the anger management or the alcohol and drug evaluation, if he goes back to Sterling Court without the officer, or he attempts to communicate with Miss Veronica Cooper, he cannot speak to her directly. He cannot speak to her through a phone or a computer or through social media, and he cannot try to reach her through any third party. Do you have any questions about the no contact, Mr. Gomez?
No, ma'am. No, Your Honor.
All right. I'm not sure what your residency status is, sir, but if your residence status is pending, you might want to reach out to your consulate to see if they can give you any assistance. But otherwise, with this charge and with this problem, you put your residency status in a huge jeopardy.
Yes, Your Honor.
So work very hard with your attorney. I'm not sure if it's the PD's office or your private counsel.
My attorney.
Your attorney is Miss Wanda Gant, and you
No,
can speak.
I mean, like, my immigration attorney. I got an immigration attorney, so like.
All right, but as soon as you're released, you might want to give him or her a call, because these kind of situations put your residency in huge jeopardy.
Yes, Your Honor.
Good luck. Thank you. 4-week anger management and alcohol and drug evaluation. That must be. And, huh? Out of his own pocket, right. All right, Miss Kim, is she back? All right, who do we have in the chair, please?
Position 2, Mr. Collins.
All right, and this is Alicia Jabez Collins, accused of battery, domestic violence, with regard to case 22 CR 001684E. Ms. Collins has been advised of the right to remain silent and represented by attorney Wanda Gant. This is the first arrest. Any recommendations from Ms. Webb?
Yes, Your Honor. The state is recommending a $3,000 surety and no further contact with Miss Anyla Johnson. That's Anyla or Anila, ANYLLA Johnson, common spelling. A stay away from the incident location at 12108 Parkview Lane, Alpharetta, Georgia. No alcohol, drugs, or weapons, and 1-day anger awareness. Your Honor, this incident occurred on yesterday around 11:36 p.m., where the Alpharetta Police Department responded to a domestic physical dispute in progress call, and upon their arrival, the officer saw multiple people outside arguing in the apartment complex. The officer saw a pile of clothes in the breezeway of the apartment complex, and the officer was able to disperse and separate that crowd and on all the parties. One of the lay witnesses did show the officer a video of the incident involving the defendant. The officer was able to make contact with the victim, and she advised that she was attempting to leave the apartment that she shared with her ex-boyfriend, who is the defendant, and that the defendant had asked her to leave. And as she was leaving, he grabbed her by the throat, spit in her face, clawed at her breast, punched her on the forehead, and bit her on the forearm. The officer did note that the victim had a laceration on her breast and her back, bite marks on her forearm, and bruises on her forehead. For those reasons, Your Honor, the state is concerned with the risk of reoffending. I did want to have pretrial to confirm the defendant's history, as the history that I received shows that this is a first offense. However, considering the violence of this offense, Your Honor, the state is going to ask and request for a $3,000 surety bond today. Nothing further.
It was confirmed as a first arrest. Thank you. Ms. Gant?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Elijah Collins is 20 years old. He has been in the Atlanta area his entire life. Your Honor, we are opposed to the stay away at 12108 Parkview Lane. He states that that is his residence and that Ms. Johnson does not live there. Mr. Collins was working as a barber, but he is now disabled due to seizures. He has been disabled since 2020. Your Honor, he denies the allegations. He states that Ms. Johnson became upset with him and she began destroying his property, and he basically was trying to get her to calm down. According to the police incident report, Ms. Anyila Johnson, who is the ex-girlfriend and the complaining witness, was also arrested on the police incident. And there is a case, this has case number MFM 221207, where Ms. Anyila Johnson was arrested and charged with simple battery. Furthermore, the complaining witness has, according to the pretrial report that I received, she was arrested April 10, 2020 for simple battery, and Mr. Collins advised me that he is the complaining witness in that matter. He states that at that time, she hit him with the pole. She attacked him. My client does not have any prior convictions for violence. In fact, this is his first arrest, Your Honor. We are unopposed to the no contact order. He states that he wants no contact with her whatsoever. He states that he plans to file a restraining order against her. We again are opposed to the stay away, as that is his residence. And for these reasons, Your Honor, I am requesting that signature bond, and he is recommended. Thank you.
I understand that she doesn't reside at the Parkview Lane property. Is that correct, Ms. Webb?
Yes, Your Honor. And actually in this incident, she was attempting to leave the apartment after the defendant requested her to leave. She says that's exactly what she was doing. And as she was leaving, that's when the defendant attacked her allegedly.
Is there a Anelia, sir, put your hand down. I wouldn't recommend you say anything. Anelia Johnson on this Zoom. Okay. Bond is set at 3,500. It's a signature bond through pretrial services. He will report to pretrial once a month. He will attend a one-day anger awareness program. He's to have no further contact with Ms. Anelia Johnson. He may return to 12108 Parkview Lane. No illegal drugs, no alcoholic beverages, no weapons, and no firearms. His next court date will be sent to him at the Parkview Lane address. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Come on, Mr.
Ms. Kim, is she back?
No,
Would the
ma'am.
would the host let Ms. Kim know that we're ready to assume her cases?
Okay, yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Number 17. No, not 17. Yeah, I think, yeah, 17. We have 14, 17, and 19. Ms. Gant and prosecutors, while we're waiting, I can go over the calendar if you want.
Yes, please, Your Honor.
Okay, on the add-on, Mr. Dennis, it was a 1250 surety bond. And to stay away from the Cannon Court, we set dates April 7th. On the SAP calendar, position 1 Bayuk is a $3,000 surety bond. Reset dates April 7. Position 2, Collins, is a 3,500 signature bond pretrial. Further notice. Position 3 is a $2,500 surety bond. And reset dates April 7. Position 4 is a 3,000 surety bond. Reset dates April 7. Position 5 is a $1,500 signature bond for pretrial. Position 6 is a 5,000 signature bond to pretrial. Position 7 is a 2,500 surety bond. Reset April 7. Position 8 is a 10,000 signature bond to pretrial. Position 9 is a 5,000 signature bond through pretrial. Position 10 is a 7,500 signature bond through the jail, released through the holds only. Position 11 is a second reset to March 25th, see calendar. Position 12 is a 10,000 surety bond. No, excuse me. Position 12 is a $5,000 cash bond only. Reset dates April 7. Position 13 is a $2,000 signature bond through the jail. Position 14 is pending. Position 15 is a 5,000 signature bond through pretrial. Position 16 is a 1,500 surety bond. Reset date is April 7. Position 17 is a pending. Position 18 is a 3,000 surety bond. Reset date April 7. Position 19 is pending. Position 20, 21, 22, and 23 are reset tomorrow. Medical reset, March 25th. Right. Okay.
Enjoy that.
All right, has the host contacted Ms. Kim? All right, Ms. Kim and Ms. Hanson. All right, we'll wait for Ms. Hanson to come in.
Yes.
But we're going to start with your client on position 17.
Okay.
This is Mr. Daniel Trappenburg. He's been advised of his right to remain silent, and he's been advised that he's charged with theft by shoplifting and simple battery from a March 23rd, 22 incident in case 22 CR 0016891. Any priors with regards to Mr. Trappenburg?
It's fifth arrest. June 2021, DUI is in Ohio. June 2020, DUI. 2017, obstructing official business, Ohio. Last Georgia arrest was a week ago in Brookhaven for obstruction and shoplifting. Homeless out of Cleveland, Ohio.
All right, thank you. Who's our prosecutor? Ms. Duncan? Yes, Ms. Duncan, any recommendations?
Yes, Your Honor, the state's recommendation in this case is a $3,000 total signature bond, $1,500 per charge. No further contact with the victim in this case, Mr. Vivian, Vivian Romo, Remoe Doherty, Doherty.
So the
There-
state is is offering a signature bond?
Yes, our recommendation is a signature.
Okay.
Your Honor, if I may, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. Did I hear pretrial state that he has just recently been arrested for theft by shoplifting?
Yes, last week, Brookhaven.
Okay, that was not in the information that I was provided. So I would ask that Ms. Duncan request a surety bond based on that information.
Okay.
Because that is new information for myself.
All right, Mr. Tucson, can you confirm that last entry you made? When was this alleged Brookhaven citation?
March 15th.
Mar-
2022.
March 15th, 2022. Was this a
Misdemeanor
citation for
obstruction, misdemeanor
shoplifting?
Yes.
All right, Ms. Duncan, did you want to revise your recommendation?
Yes, Your Honor, I would revise that recommendation. Ms. Falk, would you like me to continue with the same guidelines for both? So in the state would be requesting a $3,000 surety bond in this case. In this case, Your Honor, officers were dispatched to the location of 2525 Piedmont Road Northeast, which is the Home Depot, on a call that a male was belligerent and yelling obscenities at the caller who was the victim in this case, Mr. Vivian Ramo Daughtry. In this incident, Your Honor, the defendant entered the Home Depot and took items and passed the point of sale without paying for them. The items were a LED Galaxy skylight projector, an HDX Easy Eraser, a Waddle arm and lumbar, and welding gloves. The items totaled the amount of $449.43. He was videoed passing the point of sale, as I stated, without paying for the items. And when the store workers confronted him about it, he pushed that worker as well as continued to throw the items out of the basket onto the floor and continue to push the workers while yelling obscenities at them. The worker who was pushed was the victim in this case, and he stated that he did want to press charges for being pushed in the chest area, as well as for the stolen items from the store. Given the facts and circumstances surrounding this case, we'll request a bond as stated at $3,000. Surety, $1,500 per charge. No further contact with the victim. Stay away from that Home Depot at the incident location mentioned. 1-day anger awareness. No alcohol, drugs, and weapons, and a theft class.
Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Daniel is 50 years old. Actually, he was a firefighter in Ohio, Cleveland, and he basically retired not that long ago, and he's on his vacation right now. And his story is completely different from allegation. He was trying to pay, but this Vivian is 6'4", really tall and big guy was coming to him. He felt threatened by his presence, and it was him who put him down to the ground first for without without any explanation. So he felt really scared, and that's why he was defending himself. And he also says he's been here in Georgia for the last 3 weeks. He has no children. He's not married. He has no parents, no siblings. However, he retired on October 2021, and he graduated from high school. He went to Cleveland State University. However, here in Georgia, because he lost his car, he doesn't know whether it was stolen or missing. He really needs help to get the car retrieved, which has his ID, his medicine, and basically everything that he needs is in that car. So we actually recommended for social worker services to help him out to get his ID. And also, I would like to recommend for behavioral health evaluation for his behaviors. That's Your Honor.
Thank you. Bond is set at $1,000 per count, and that's a $2,000 surety bond. To stay away from all Home Depot stores, including the one on Piedmont Road, 2525 Piedmont Road, and no further contact with Vivian Ramsey Doherty. Thank you. Oh, excuse me, no drugs, no illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons and no firearms.
I would like to address the court.
You have a right to remain silent, Mr. Trappenburg. If anything you say, your statements can and will be used against you in the treatment of your case. It will not only open you to being to incrimination, but also make it difficult for your attorney to represent you.
I would still like to make the statement that with my PTSD, I felt threatened and I was trying to get away from them. I was not trying to leave the store with any items that were not paid for. And I would also like to state
and
that.
Mr. Trappenburg, in that case, I'm sure the prosecution will get a copy of the video of whatever footage there is, and they can share that with the defendant to decide what could happen in your case. Your next court date is April 7th.
The other thing, without a signature loan, I cannot pay it. I have no method of payment. I have nobody to contact to make a payment. So I will have to stay in jail until the court date, just so you know.
Understood. Thank you.
Come on, guys.
Next court date is April 7th. All right, Ms. Kim, we can address position number in courtroom 3. Who do we have in the seat right there, Ms. Kim?
Number, actually 19 was, hold on please, Your Honor.
For Eddie Velasquez.
All right. And this will be position number 19. All right, Ms. Hanson, do you solemnly swear and affirm the translation you provide will be a true and accurate translation with no changes or embellishments?
I do.
Thank you. This is State versus Eddie Velasquez Perez, case number 22 CR 001697G.
Este es el caso de Eddie Velasquez Pérez contra el Estado. El número de caso es 22 CR 001676.
Mr. Velasquez Perez is accused of DUI under the influence of alcohol per se, driving with the possession of an open alcohol container, driving a vehicle. I'm sorry, go ahead.
El señor Velázquez ha sido imputado con conducir bajo el efecto de alcohol y también conducir con una bebida o contenido abierto por seguir.
Also, 3 additional charges are expired or no license on person, improper or erratic lane change, and DUI, driving under the influence of alcohol, less safe.
Al igual, del mismo cargo, son 3 cargos adicionales que se le imponen. Ese conducir sin licencia válida o licencia suspendida o vencida. También de no dar información o dar información desconocida, al igual que un cambio en la autopista de carril inadecuadamente y temerariamente, y el cargo de manejar bajo el efecto de alcohol, estupefacientes.
These are the 5 misdemeanor charges, and we have warrants for each charge.
Son 5 delitos menores y tenemos una autodetención por los 5 cargos.
Your case was formally accused.
Su caso fue formalmente acusado por el gran jurado.
You have a right to remain silent. Anything you say about the facts of the case, your statements can and will be used against you.
Usted tiene el derecho a permanecer callado. Todos los hechos y elementos del caso se pueden usar en su contra.
You have a right to an attorney, and representing you is Ms. Kim.
Usted tiene derecho a tener asistencia letrada donde toda etapa de un procedimiento judicial, la licenciada que lo representa es la abogada de oficio Kim.
Mr. Tucson, any priors on Mr. Eddie Perez Velasquez?
Third arrest.
¿Existen algunos antecedentes?
This is his 3rd arrest. Tucson, 3rd arrest?
Yes.
Any prior DUIs?
No. Last arrest was January 2022 in Indiana for reckless driving.
Usted que tiene 2 otros cargos anteriores. En el enero del 2022, el 20 de enero de 2022, fue acusado de conducir temerariamente en el estado de Indiana.
Last arrest in Georgia was August 2021, Forsyth County, driving without a valid license.
Y el último también arresto fue en agosto del 2021 en el condado de Forsyth de conducir sin una licencia válida del estado.
That's it.
All right, Ms. Duncan, as we have to translate, if you just give me the bond recommendations and a brief summary of the facts. I've read all the warrants, all the pages. Thank you.
The state in this case is
Oh,
requesting.
hang on, let Ms. Hanson interpret what I just said.
Solo la licenciada Duncan, si no puede dar solo un resumen del caso y las recomendaciones por parte de la fiscalía, ya que ya pude conocer todos los autos de detenciones en este caso como parte del expediente.
All right, Ms. Duncan, you may proceed.
The state is requesting an $8,000 total surety bond.
El Estado está recomendando un monto del depósito de la fianza de $8,000, que ya sea una fianza de aseguranza.
That is $3,000 total for the DUI per se.
Son $3,000 en total por el cargo del MBI.
$500 surety for the possession of an open alcohol container.
500 por cargar una bebida alcohólica abierta.
1,000 surety for the expired or no license on person.
También la fianza bajo aseguranza de $1,000 por conducir sin una licencia válida o no cargar licencia.
1,500 surety for the driving improper or erratic lane change.
Al igual, 1,500 por conducir temerariamente y hacer un cambio de carril inadecuado.
And the 2,000 for the DUI alcohol less safe.
Y los 2,000 son por el cargo del MBI de alcohol y de conducir de manera sin poniendo otros en peligro.
In this case, the defendant was observed swerving between two lanes.
En este caso, se vio que el imputado estaba conduciendo de una manera temeraria, iba de un carril al otro.
He was driving what officers identified as a Chevy Impala on Alpharetta Street.
Sé que estaba conduciendo un Chevy Impala en la calle de Alpharetta.
When officers approached the vehicle, they noticed that there was an open alcoholic beverage container in the middle console.
Cuando los policías pudieron de parar el vehículo, se dieron cuenta que al lado del conductor había un envase abierto de alcohol.
There was also
En la
an open,
consola.
there was also an open case of beer visible in the back seat on the floorboard.
Parece que también en el asiento de atrás, en el piso del asiento de atrás, también vieron que había birras que cargaba y había una abierta.
When asked, the defendant admitted that he had had 3 or 4 beers.
Parece que cuando se le hizo la pregunta al acusado si había tomado, dijo que había tomado 3 o 4 cervezas, al tener las cervezas también visible en el vehículo.
He admitted to officers when asked that he did not have a license.
Él se admitió a los agentes públicos que no conducía con una licencia.
And upon being asked to exit the vehicle, he was noticed having trouble balancing himself.
Y parece que cuando se desmontó el vehículo también se fijaron que no tuvo el balance adecuado y no se pudo parar bien.
There was an odor of alcoholic beverage coming from the defendant, and he displayed bloodshot, watery eyes.
Como estaba inestable, también se podía oler el alcohol, el fuerte aliento del alcohol en su persona y también los ojos rojos.
The defendant,
Did he take the intoxilizer test? Did he
Yes.
agree pursuant to an implied consent?
yes, that's what I was about to state.
Okay.
The implied consent blood alcohol test was given twice, and first it read 2.237.
Se le hizo la prueba de sobriedad en el sitio y la prueba de alcoholímetro y la prueba dio un resultado. Se hizo 2 veces. El primer resultado fue de 0.237.
And on the second test, it read 0.222.
Y en la segunda prueba, muestra dio .222.
Even in the lowest of the two tests, that is almost 3 times the legal limit.
Aunque en el nivel de la segunda prueba, que es menor, todavía es un nivel 3 veces más alto del límite legal.
Because of these facts and circumstances, the state has a concern for the safety of this defendant and others on the road.
Por los hechos y circunstancias de este caso, el Estado está muy preocupado por la seguridad que se encuentra en las vías públicas y también de las personas en la comunidad.
We are also concerned about a history of reoffending because the defendant does have a history with driving offenses.
Y también nos concierne que es un residente, ya que el imputado tiene 3 otros cargos que son relacionados con infracciones de tránsito.
And because of these facts and circumstances, we're requesting the bond as stated at $8,000 total surety.
Y debido a las circunstancias y los hechos del caso, la petición de la Fiscalía es que sea un monto de $8,000 de depósito de fianza bajo aseguranza.
We're requesting that there be no driving unless there's a valid license and insurance.
Es decir, no puede conducir solo si tiene licencia válida del Estado y aseguranza.
We're requesting that this defendant take a defensive driving course.
También la petición es de que ese acusado tome un curso de defensa.
And have no alcohol, drugs, or weapons.
Defensa de manejo y también no puede portar arma o cargar ningún tipo de arma.
All right. Ms. Kim?
Yes, Mr. Addy is 23 years old.
El señor Eddie tiene 23 años de edad.
He has been here in Georgia for 3 years.
Ha vivido en el estado de Georgia por 3 años.
He has 1 child who is 6 months.
Tiene una niña que tiene 6 meses.
He is married and he has siblings here in Georgia.
Está casado y tiene también otros familiares en Georgia.
And he also has a job. He's gainfully employed.
Al igual, si tiene un trabajo corriente.
As a landscaping worker.
Trabajando en landscaping. Jardinería.
So he's not going to run away. He's not a flight risk.
No es un riesgo de fuga y tampoco se va a fugar del estado.
So we would like to request for, considering the fact that we have previous driving records.
Sí queremos solicitar a la jueza, considerando también que sí tiene otras infracciones de tránsito.
We would like to request for $1,000 surety bond.
Que sería un depósito de fianza de $1,000 como depósito de fianza con aseguranza.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Gracias,
All right.
señoría.
On the DUI driving under the influence of alcohol per se, the bond is set at $2,500.
En el cargo de la MBI, conducir con esa acusación de manejar bajo los efectos de alcohol, el monto de la acusación sería de $2,500.
Open alcohol container is $1,000.
De cargar un envase de alcohol abierto es de $1,000.
Expired or no license is $1,000.
No cargar una licencia del estado válida es $1,000.
Improper erratic lane change is $500.
Cambio de carril erráticamente y temerariamente.
2, 3, 4, 5. That's going to be a total of $5,000 surety bond.
Sería un monto total de, did you say $5,000, Your Honor?
5,000 surety bond.
Sería un monto total de $5,000, que es un depósito de fianza con aseguranza.
And for the 5th charge, DUI under the influence of alcohol, less safe, that's going to be a $2,000 signature bond through the jail.
Y con el quinto cargo, que es de conducir al efecto de alcohol y poner en peligro a la comunidad, sería $2,000, también depósito de fianza bajo lo que se conoce como asegurada.
His total bond is $7,000. It's a split bond.
La fianza total son $7,000, que es dividido en 2.
He has to go through a bonding company for $5,000.
Tiene que usar un fiador por el monto de $500.
no alcohol, no illegal drugs, no weapons, and no firearms.
La condición es no puede beber alcohol, no puede cargar un arma de fuego,
And no driving unless he has a valid driver's license, adequate insurance, and proper registration.
al igual que no puede manejar si no tiene una licencia válida del estado, aseguranza adecuada y también el carro registrado.
Next court date is April 7th.
Su próxima fecha de audiencia sería el 7 de abril.
If he makes bond, he will be sent another court date.
Si usted deposita la fianza y lo pone en libertad, le mandarán la notificación para su próxima audiencia.
Does he have any
Ujú.
questions about his bond?
¿Tiene alguna pregunta sobre el depósito de la fianza?
I'm sorry, we have to unmute. Sergeant Johnson, can we unmute courtroom 3, please? Can we unmute? Yeah, thank you. Does he have any questions to ask of his bond?
¿Tiene alguna pregunta sobre el depósito de la fianza?
Sí, entonces si pagaría todo o la mitad ahorita y cómo sería.
So how would I do it? Do I have to pay all of it or pay half now?
You have to go through a bonding company. They charge between 10 to 15% of the $5,000 portion.
Como es un depósito de fianza garantizada, significa que sí tiene que utilizar un fiador, porque el fiador es que tiene la relación con la corte y ese negocio para asegurarse que usted no va a fugarse del estado o no va a comparecer. Entonces sería donde usted tuviera que pagar $5,000 y ellos entonces abonan la otra cantidad.
Otherwise, he can put up a cash bond for the whole thing through the sheriff's office.
Si no, usted puede pagar en efectivo la suma por completa con las oficinas de los alguaciles,
Which is the $5,000 portion.
lo cual es los $500.
Entonces, ¿cuándo me dejarían en libertad?
So when could I be released?
When you make bond.
Cuando usted deposita la fianza.
Entonces, ¿qué tendría yo que hacer para utilizar un fiador o llamar a un fiador?
So do I have to go through a bondsman for the rest? Do I have to call a bonds company?
Correct, for $5,000 portion.
Sí, ellos van a pagar los $500.
Pero entonces, ¿cuándo saldría yo entonces?
So when would I be released then?
When he gets the bond from the bonding
When-
company. Or
Si
whether
usted
he-
llama, cuando usted llama al fiador, o si su pareja se pone en contacto con un fiador y le aseguren que van a pagar los $5,000, entonces de ahí lo van a poner bajo libertad.
Pero una preguntita es que lo que pasa es que no puedo hablar con mi esposa porque no traigo su número, entonces, ¿cómo podría
Right.
hacer o cómo?
So I just had a question, since I'm in here and I don't have my wife's number, how can I get in contact with someone or get in contact with her so she can get in contact with the bondsman?
We have the phone system there, or if Miss Kim has your wife's number and name, she will reach out to her.
Okay. Si tienen ahí, usted puede llamar usted mismo directamente a un fiador, pero si usted tiene su número de teléfono de su esposa, entonces la licenciada Kim puede llamar por usted.
¿Mi esposa?
Exacto, o usted mismo el fiador.
O no tengo, si usted tendría un fiador, sería mejor.
I don't have my wife's phone number, but do you have the contact information of a bondsman?
You will get that at the jail.
Se lo van a entregar en la cárcel.
Ok, entonces, ¿cuándo sería entonces que lo van a entregar?
So when are they going to entregar qué? I'm sorry, Your Honor, I'm going to get a clarification on his question. ¿Entregar qué?
El número, ¿cómo sería? Pues?
When are they going to give me this phone number?
Sir, I don't know. When they process you, we within the next few hours. Now that
No
they
sé
know
si-
what your bond is.
Yo no sé. Cuando empiecen con los trámites de poder ponerlo bajo libertad, es decir, ahí tienen que entonces hablar con ellos, los alguaciles en esa sala, para que den entonces la información cómo trabaja con los fiadores en la cárcel.
Sergeant Johnson, does the facility provide the bonding company lists for them?
Yes, Judge, I do have one to give me.
Okay, and then he can communicate with them in Spanish. They have Spanish-speaking people at those offices.
Van entonces ya, hay un fiador, hay muchas oficinas que tienen personas que son, que hablan español, hispanohablantes, y lo pueden ayudar. Okay.
Otra preguntita sería que ¿cuándo podría, entonces, si podría llamar hoy, me dejarían hoy en libertad?
So my last question is, if I call them today, would I be released today?
If you call them and your bond is paid and it's processed through the jail, it takes 24 hours to then release you.
Si usted se pone en contacto con ellos y hacen todos los trámites necesarios por vía de la cárcel, toma 24 horas para ponerlo bajo libertad.
Otro, creo que yo podría conseguir el dinero, pero necesito hablar con mi familiar y entonces, ¿cuánto sería en total entonces? Si pagarían efectivo.
So I think I'm able to be able to acquire this money personally. So if I speak to my family, what would be the total sum I need to pay?
By cash is $5,000 plus whatever fees the sheriff charges. If you go through a bonding company, 10 to 15% of $5,000.
En efectivo serían $5,000. Tuviera que pagar los $5,000 más los recargos necesarios judiciales. Si usted va por un fiador, una compañía fiadora, entonces ellos solo pagarían el 10 o 15%.
No, pero ¿y qué tal si yo pagaría todo? O sea, quisiera saber cuánto es en total para pagarlo todo en efectivo.
I just want to know how much I have to pay in total if it's all in cash.
$5,000.
$5,000.
Ok, está bien, entonces voy a tratar de comunicarme con mi familia y ya.
Okay, I'm going to try to get a hold of my family.
Excellent. Best of luck.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mucha suerte, señor.
All right, we have Miss Yurisneri Palomino de Quesada.
Miss Palomino de Quesada.
Case number 22 CR 001690D.
Yes, we did. Why?
And Miss Kim, in your conference with her, have you discussed the charge that was brought against her?
Yes, I would like to request for a breakout room because of that.
Yes, breakout room, please.
All right, we can pause the live stream and the recording. This is our last